Good morning, party people. Jake with the Roaming Homesteaders here. Today is Saturday, February 18th, 2023, and I'm coming to you live from Northern California. It's not live now, but you get the point. And it's live for me at the moment. This morning you get to look at my ugly mug. The mustache and the beard had to go. It was just a little too much for me to deal with, so I'm back to mostly unshaven, but not quite wild forest man again. But thanks for everybody who asked, and even the few people that mourned the loss of the beard. I'm sorry, I was just looking too old and too scruffy, and my wife had been very patient with me, so now I'm back. But anyway, you're not here to watch me, you're here to see the stuff that we do. So let me introduce our project for the day for you, and we'll get going.
In the suburbs of Northern California is a family living between worlds. With one foot planted firmly in the past, aspiring homesteaders Jake and Wendy are raising their 5 young children to learn and appreciate historic trades and skills as they look together to the future. They want to show that dedication to God, commitment to family, and compassion towards others are not lost ideals, but rather the hallmarks of any truly great generation, something we can still reclaim today. As they built a life on faith and tradition, they found themselves on a unique journey, rediscovering the knowledge, ingenuity, and wisdom of older generations in their own shared quest for home.
So it may have seemed that we've been working through our Idaho vacation videos from October, and we've been up in the garden for weeks and weeks and weeks. Even some of our short videos have been focused on those sort of things. And we've forgotten everything else because, there's a lot of stuff that happens on a homestead even in the winter, and some of the other projects that I've been working on. I'm in the alcove here in our garage where we do a lot of projects. This is where I had my loom set up, and I've gone ahead and folded that up for the time being. We'll get back to that in probably 2 months. But we're going to take a little bit of time to clear this space out, clean up, and get a chick brooder set up, just so that we can start working on other aspects of our homesteading. As you know, if you've watched, we live in a rental, and my parents have a home nearby, about 25 miles away up in the mountains, and we're able to do a lot of the bigger things up there. But one of the projects they've been asking about and talking about has been chickens for a long time. And we've all been pretty busy. We go out of town on occasion, and we've been a little hesitant to get animals that we have to take care of or worry about. But now we're kind of quieting down and settling in for the foreseeable future. Not a lot of traveling, at least for us. And we're able to start focusing on some of these animal-based projects. This project is born out of necessity. I've been trying to convince my parents for some time for the need for chickens, to have sort of a source of chickens and a source of fresh eggs, and that these things take time and you have to build the infrastructure. And they have listened. It's not that they weren't listening before, they were just, they had other focuses and other priorities and projects they were working on. And now we're getting back to a point where we can invest some time and energy and money. The garden's been coming together. We still have a lot of irrigation to put in there in the summer before things really heat up here. But it's now time to look at some other infrastructure. And chickens is something that we're all sort of gathering around as something that we need to get going. I was at Costco the other day. We do a lot of our bulk shopping at Costco, and there were no eggs in the entire store. And when I talked to somebody, they told me, eggs might come in this week, but you got to be here, within 2 hours of the truck arriving, or they get wiped out. Thankfully, chicken is still pretty cheap at Costco, but it's just something that we've watched happening, over the last few years, especially where chicken processing plants or food processing plants have been burning down or exploding all over the country. Nobody's asking any questions about that or thinking that that's suspicious or unusual. And then the prices have just been climbing and climbing and climbing. And I'm not one for conspiracy theories. Quite honestly, I know that people do crappy things to each other and that they sneak around and do shisty stuff and that the government does crazy stuff. And you know what? Half of it might be true. Who knows? In an era of Chinese spy weather balloons and, burning rail cars in Ohio and all sorts of other insanity going on in schools, nothing surprises me anymore. Plus, as Christians, we know the end of the story. We know that all of this is predicted. As a matter of fact, if you haven't read the Bible, runaway inflation and outrageous food prices are actually in the book of Revelation as well. We encourage you to check that out. Not so that you can panic, but so that you can know that God told us about these things ahead of time so that we wouldn't fear. And also, I would assume, so that we could prepare. So we're not trying to be crazy. I look at ourselves more as being prepared, less being preppers, because the mentality is a little bit different. I'm not criticizing anyone there. I'm just saying we have a little bit of a different mental approach to this sort of thing. It's not born out of panic or fear, just in wisdom. And I know there's a lot of preppers that share that mentality. Better to be safe than sorry, and just better to be wise with how we're approaching things, because as the Bible says, knowing that the times are evil, we can be prepared and aware and trusting the Lord, but also being smart. So that's part of what we're trying to do today, is being smart, taking a little bit more control over food supply and just access to things that are being taken away from most people. But enough of my soapbox. Today I'm going to show you how we're actually getting chickens ready. We recently purchased a Brincia egg incubator, really nice one. And we're hoping to get some local eggs because we haven't been able to get chicks, and all the chicks are on back order for the next 4 months. I'm sure there's places that you can get chicks, but looking for the sort of, I don't want to call them purebred, but a specific breed of chickens that we're looking for. Very, very common breed. We're looking at the buff Orpingtons or the lavender Orpingtons or Rhode Island Reds, but specifically we're hoping to get barred rocks to start out with. But in order to have chickens, you have to either grow the chickens from chicks, or you have to hatch them from eggs, but you still have to raise them from the time that they're hatched until the time that they're ready to put out in your yard. And that's a process called brooding. It is usually done by a chicken mama. She broods her brood. We don't have very specific terms in English for these processes. They can be the verbs and the noun, and it's the same word for all of it, but the process is the same. You are protecting, warming, keeping safe the little bitty chicks, and you're feeding and watering them and keeping an eye on them and giving them all the goodies that they need while they grow up for a time. And then when they're able to protect themselves in a little bit more of an open environment, then you put them out there so that you can start growing them up until they're big enough and mature enough to either start laying eggs, or in the case of roosters, protecting the flock. The way you do that generally is you keep the chicks confined in a small space. You make sure that you have good heat to keep them warm, just like they would if they were sitting under a hen and being watched over by a hen. And you provide them fresh, clean water and food, and you make sure that they can't escape and get into trouble by finding themselves in cold situations or somewhere that a predator or danger can injure them or kill them. And the way that people have done that for a long time has been to use something like an old watering trough or a new watering trough that's been made for a specific purpose, and you're going to modify it and you're going to turn it into a safe environment for your chicks. Many people use these tartar-style galvanized steel or galvanized steel or aluminum watering troughs, and they will line the bottom with pine shavings or paper towels or newspaper. You don't really want to use newspaper, but pine shavings or paper towels. And then they will hang a heat lamp from the ceiling so that the chicks can't knock it over or catch fire or something. And then you'll put waters and feeders inside with chick starter feed so that they'll grow. And then you monitor the environment so that they'll stay warm. And then for about 4 to 6 weeks, maybe a little bit longer, you keep your chicks in this contained area so that they're safe. And you feed them and you water them and you check on them and you grow them until they're big enough and they're feathered out, so that those feathers will help them regulate their own body temperature. And that ability to regulate their own body temperature means that they're then ready to go out into your starter coop, either by themselves or with a chicken mama, some other animal that will take care of them, a chicken that will take care of them. But you don't want to just chuck them in with the other chickens, because they'll be low on the pecking order. They're smaller than the other birds, so you gotta baby these critters until they get big enough to take care of themselves, and this is the start of that process. So let's get started. I'm gonna go ahead and modify this tartar watering trough from Lowe's. I think it was about $160. It was on sale. It was $200, and it was $40 off, I think. So they may be having a sale right now if you go check that out and you want to do a project like this. We're going to put some supply links below, show you what we use, and some of the other parts that are still coming in the mail from Amazon right now. But we're going to focus on getting this ready, and we're going to put the wood lid on it and hang the chain from the ceiling so you can see the start of this process and what we're doing to get this set up in our garage for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Work area cleaned up, we're going to go ahead and start putting the pieces together that we need to make this lid. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a 2-foot long piece of wood. This is just a scrap piece of 2x4 I was able to get for free off Lowe's, part of their junk pallets that they throw away. So 2-foot long piece of 2x4, and we're going to drill a 3/8 hole, one on each side, here and here. And then we're gonna be able to put our carriage bolts through the holes, and we're gonna bolt this thing to the water tank. It's not that I fly by the seat of my pants, but sometimes I take steps out of order. Right now I have most of the wood lip here for me to put my hinges on, but I have to think a little bit more about what I want to do as far as getting some extra wood on here, because I don't have a table saw available today or anything else to rip a small piece of wood cleanly, which means I'd be doing it all with hand saws. So I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on next. I'm going to cut the lid out. We're going to flip this over, draw a template on the 2x4 sheet the plywood sheet that I have here. I also got that free from Lowe's. It was some scraps they were throwing out. Saved myself 28 bucks. Yay! And we're going to get this lid cut out with a jigsaw. And then once I'm able to put that lid on, I'll be able to tell exactly how much of a gap I need to fill with the wood for the rest of the hinge. And maybe I'll get a little more inspiration. So that's how these projects go sometimes. You just gotta roll with it. So let's go ahead and flip this thing over, and we'll draw the template out and cut out the top of the lid with the jigsaw. the lid cut out, and now a potential solution for my lip problem on this 2x4 has presented itself. This plywood's very thick. I think it's 3/4 of an inch. So if I could just cut myself a 2-foot piece shim, we'll call it a shim, and screw that on the edge of this, I think that'll take care of our problem, and we'll have enough wood to tie in our hinges. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut that out as well. And then I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and drill some holes in the top of this lid just for ventilation for the chicks, because when we close it later, when they get bigger so they don't fly out, we still want airflow to get in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and drill a few of those holes and maybe a window square that I can put some chicken wire over or something so that I can look in there and see what's going on. much as I love time-lapse footage and just fast-forwarding things for people to see, I'm not gonna make you watch literally paint drying. So I went outside and I went ahead and started coating the lid with Australian tung oil blend from Cabot, just so we can get that going and take advantage of the weather. You know, it's not sunny out, but it's not cold, and it's not going to rain today, so I put it out in the light where it could air dry and not stink up the garage here. But that's painting. I sanded that down a little bit while I was recharging batteries and doing some other things, and you'll be able to see the result. But you know, you can imagine, basically I just took the lid as I had finished drilling the holes in, sanded it down, filled in any cracks and things. I left the clamps on, so I'll take those off tomorrow and finish painting. But I got the first layer on one side done, and then I took off the block and also sealed that with the tung oil and linseed oil blend so that that's nice and sealed and cleanable when we need it to be. So the next step will be getting the hardware cloth. After everything dries and we can screw it back together, we'll get the hardware cloth on the back to cover up those holes so that things can't get in, chickens can't get out, and then we'll start taking care of business as far as getting everything set up. Goes right there. Okay, so we'll get this bolted in place and we'll go from there. Something else that I want to try on this is to insulate it a little bit better. It's not terribly cold here, but I'd like to be a little more efficient in how we operate this brooder. Maybe I can turn the heat down a little bit. I don't know. We're gonna have to see. But I thought that an interesting idea would be to try to cover the outside of this with some sort of insulating material. And I have a lot of reflective bubble wrap stuff floating around from various purchases and shipments over the last couple of years. And I thought I'd put that on the outside and see if it had any effect. So I'm gonna go ahead and tape that up and see how it works. Alrighty, so there you have it. I haven't put the wire cloth on the back of this yet, but I will do that as soon as I get over to Lowe's. But as Providence would have it, I just got some packages from Amazon. So I think this is the rest of the stuff I need for this brooder. So let's go ahead and take a peek. Yeah, look at that. These are the chick feeders. I don't need 2 of them, but I needed another one. So you take these things, and they're just cheap little plastic things. I don't think they're not meant to last forever, but you put these in with your chicks, put some food in there along with the water, and let's see, make sure that works. And that one works too. Voila! So there's a chick feeder to go with our extra other ones here. So we've got our little waters and feeders. So that'll all go in there. And then I'm hoping this is a lamp. This better be a lamp and a couple of light bulbs. So let's see here. These are the light bulbs, I bet. Yep, we got 2 250 watt bulbs, and let's hope this is the lamp fixture. I wasn't planning on doing an unboxing, but there you have it. So, sounds like it. Let's see what's in here. Yeah. So there's a ceramic light cord. That's looking promising. And some parts. And a brooder light. Oh, you know what they say, some assembly required. So I'll leave that off. See if I can, there's no instructions here, but I think I get the idea. Let's see here. Yeah. We're not going to clamp this, so I'm not going to use a clamp, but I am going to use this and a little screw here. Sorry, I'm not really great at talking out loud while I'm doing these sort of things. Believe it or not. So let me get my screwdriver. So this is pretty straightforward. You take your ceramic light bulb socket, you put it on the back. You put it on the back of this, and you screw it in to the fixture like so. And make sure I get this right. Don't screw it up. Don't screw it up, Jacob. Don't tighten it too much. You don't want to strip them. This one. Oh no! There. Grumble, grumble. There we go. Got it. Put that in that way. Okay. Now, I don't know if heat cycles on this thing are going to make the metal expand and contract, but we have that. We have our little hook right there so that I can hang this lamp upside down like that. And then, excuse me, got the hiccups this morning. Haven't even had breakfast yet. You open this up, pull out one of these bulbs very carefully, very carefully. Screw in one of these bulbs. And then put on the cover. This keeps the chicks out of it. And there you have it. A brooder lamp. Pretty cool. So we have our brooder lamp, we have our feeders and waterers, and we have I don't need the clamp, so I'm going to put that clamp in here with this extra bulb just to keep it out of the way for the time being. And then I have our chain. So this is going to be the chain that we're going to hook to this lamp, hang it from the ceiling. And I also have the hook for the ceiling. And I think that's it. We got everything, huh? All right. So there we have it. We have everything we need for our chick brooder except for the hardware cloth that I'm going to get today. We can start putting this up. We got the brooder set up here in the corner. I have the chain and the lamp hanging down right in the middle. I have the door held up with a bungee cord so that it can't fall over unless I intentionally do it. And I just need to get my extension cord plugged in here so we can start warming it up. But I'm gonna run down to the feed store. We're gonna get some pine shavings and get this thing heating up so we can go check out some chicks and see what's available. Okay, so we've been on chick watch for several days waiting for chicks to get into the feed stores. I went ahead and passed up on Tractor Supply yesterday because I wasn't really happy with their selection, and you know, I've seen the quality of some of the chicks. They're just not handled as well as they could be in the past. Nothing against Tractor Supply, I just wanted to get a little quicker access to birds, and so I passed on Tractor Supply. I knew they got chicks yesterday and they were gone in 3 hours. So thankfully I've been monitoring our other feed stores in the area, and I made the call this morning. 4 of the kids and I went out to nearby a feed store about 10 miles away, and they weren't in yet. And then I made the call like a half hour later, and we went 15 miles south of here to another feed store, and they had some of what we wanted. So we're just sort of playing chick roulette at the moment, waiting to see what we can get. So we picked up 15 buff Orpingtons, and we're gonna go ahead and get them settled into the brooder, and then tomorrow hopefully we'll be able to get another 10.
You just scared. Yeah. They look so orange in the picture. What are you tripping for?
I am so excited. I finally got buff Orpingtons. They are so adorable. They're so fluffy and cute. I just am so excited to see them grow. When I was in the 4th grade, we had eggs in an incubator in our school classroom, and then we got to take home some. So I got 2 that I got to take home. I don't remember the kind that we had, but I lived on a farm at the time, and I got 2 to take home, and I was so excited. So I haven't had little chicks like this since then.
There you have it, folks, the start of our 2023 chick adventure, getting a brooder set up and getting 24 little chicks ready to go. This is just the starter brooder. We're going to be putting half of them in another tank here shortly as they get bigger, but this got them started. We were able to get them from the store instead of having to hatch them out, but we do have a project coming up where we're going to hatch out some Orust chickens. It's a Swedish type chicken, pretty rare variety, but we want to make sure we have everything set up for that before we venture on down that road. That's a little more ambitious of an adventure, but for now we've got 15 buff Orpingtons and 9 little barred rocks. So we're hoping to get these guys healthy and well and fatten them up so that we can take them up to the chicken coop up at my parents' house. So that's the start of this part of the project. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.